the success that I had on Saturday night up the hill, working people on 2 meters, kind of inspired me really to kind of visualize this. But I think it was really with your help and making some sense of it all and seeing how easy it could come together that's kind of like brought it to fruition, if you don't mind me saying that.
No, definitely. I think the increase in M7s has been absolutely phenomenal the last 3 or 4 months since the lockdown began. You know, I know in this area, Essex Hams are incredibly active in terms of offering free tuition, and they actually got overrun with the demand. They couldn't actually keep up with the numbers of people wanting to, in terms of administration, do the foundation exam. So it's an exciting time. That's one positive out of all this COVID-19 mess, really. It's only going to help, you know, radio activity, because more people now have fallen back in love and connected to the hobby. I really do believe that.
And hence the reason for this activity weekend, just to try and give these new M7s and, you know, some of the more established call signs as well, the opportunity to actually feel what it's like to be on a busy band.
When I first got my M6 of an evening, I would say from, I don't know, probably from about 6:30, maybe 7 o'clock onwards, probably right the way through till 9:30, quarter to 10ish. You know, it was quite active. It was quite busy, and it wasn't just foundation call signs. You know, there was all the old timers as well. You know, the G0s, the G1s, etc. You know, we've had this discussion a few times, both on air and face to face. You know, it's right now. I mean, I've got the 9700 on the calling channel, and I can see two signals on the band scope. You know, and that's, you know, what time is it now? It's, you know, just gone 8 o'clock in the night time. And 4 years ago, it was alive, proper alive, and of course now it's dead.
And it shouldn't be like that, should it? I mean, no, 2 meters is such a great band. And this is what I'm afraid of, is a lot of these new M7s will come into this hobby and they'll buy, you know, a £500, £600, £700 radio, stick up a wire and get straight onto HF. They'll completely skip and ignore the 2 meter stuff, because in contrast, having that sexy QSO with, you know, somebody in Hawaii or Christmas Island or something like that, what's the point in talking to somebody down the road in Dudley? Funny, isn't it? The three of us probably, and I know you're the same, Oscar, given the choice, we'd probably all prefer to be on 2 meters rather than HF.
Yeah,
it's
definitely.
weird, isn't it?
I think the thing at the moment, I've only been back in the hobby for 2 years, and I've joined right at a sunspot cycle low. So obviously, you know, I'm quite fortunate. I've got the full use of 50 watts output, but any foundation license, it's obviously QRP. So it's a struggle at the best of times to get a contact on HF anyway, even on 50 watts. You know, think about if you're using 5, it's even more of a challenge. So I think at the moment, the 2 meter UHF, VHF situation is probably more prominent than it's ever been, because a lot of the activity for these newly licensed stations, in terms of who they're actually going to be able to get hold of and have a conversation with, is going to be higher up the band plan. You know, I wouldn't really want to be you know, of course, if the conditions are right, you can still do QRP on HF. Of course you can. Nothing can, you know, even in a low sunspot, but it's less likely. So I think it's probably more relevant now than any other time in a cycle to try and get the activity higher up the band plan. And
yeah, the good thing about 2 meters is it's accessible to most people. You know, doing 2 meters mobile, doing 2 meters portable, doing 2 meters sidebang, like Stuart says, in an area where maybe sticking up a hex beam wouldn't be acceptable. And that's why I love 2 meters. And you've still got the same challenges as what you have with HF, but just scaled differently. So like Stuart's saying there, you know, FT8 into mainland Europe, that would be nothing if it was 40 meters. You wouldn't even, you know, you wouldn't even look twice at it. But on 2 meters, scaled down relative to the band, all of a sudden it just becomes exciting. So that's why I would love for, you know, M7s to focus, I'm not saying exclusively, but focus on getting on 2 meters. Because number one, hopefully there'll be activity on there. Number two, there's challenges. You know, I've got challenges here at home where 2 meters is literally me talking to people up the road. Whereas if I get up a hill, I can talk a lot further. So that's the whole idea of this weekend, to try and get some activity on the band.
So I suppose thinking about this weekend,
Yeah.
Question, I think you kind of answered it in a roundabout way, but what kind of goals are you setting for the event?
I mean, that's a really good question, to be honest. My initial goal, if you'd have asked me on Monday night what my goal was, it was literally just to get some activity on 2 meters. However, thinking of it over the last couple of days, as this has all been kind of like developing in my head, number one, the first goal has got to be get some activity on 2 meters and demonstrate to all of these people that say 2 meters is dead. I read it every single day on Facebook, even to the extent where I've had conversations with people that say, oh, I've sold all my 2 meters equipment because there's nobody on. The problem is, if you switch on the first Tuesday evening of the month, the RS3B contest, you know what I'm going to say, Stuart?
Absolutely.
2 meters SSB is absolutely rammed. And
jumping, it's absolutely jumping.
You know, you've both got radios that have got scopes, so you can see the activity on there. And literally, you could probably set your clock by it, because you know that exactly, is it 8 o'clock?
Yeah, 8 o'clock.
The band on 2 meters SSB will just explode, and it'll just be loads and loads of QSOs. And then 10:30, I think it is, 10:30.
Yeah, 10:30.
It just closes. Now, that isn't the fact that the band's dead. That's the fact that nobody's using the band.
Mm.
So, you know, I can't change sunspots. You know, I'm physically incapable of altering the laws of physics. However, what I can do is change activity, and hopefully that's what this weekend's going to do. It's going to show people that only by switching their radio on and calling CQ, the band will just become busy. And everybody, well, I say everybody, I think there'll always be people out there that just want to moan and say, oh, this is rubbish and that's rubbish. But for most of us radio hands, we just want activity. We want somebody to talk to. And that's the reason why I go on the radio, not because I just like holding a microphone, but because I want to have a contact with someone.
So the number one goal is to obviously get the productivity, the activity up to higher level. Is there any secondary goals or any other?
Yeah, I think with what you said quite rightly about the number of M7s coming into the hobby, over the last few months, I've spoken to a considerable amount of M7s. And the amount that I've spoken to that say, you're the first person that I've spoken to, or this is only my second day, or these people are very, very new. And one of the problems of lockdown is they probably haven't got any of the face-to-face stuff going on that we would have if we were going to our local club. So therefore, they may have passed the exam and they may have spoken to somebody on Facebook or even on the radio. But I think that these guys do need a little bit of help in terms of getting their confidence up and overcoming any sort of mic shyness. So by that kind of activity going on, so yeah, that's the whole goal. Get some activity on the 2 meter band, be it on sideband, be it on FM, be it via a repeater, just getting some, you know, activity, getting these new M7s, having lots of chats with people. And at the end of it, hopefully at the end of it, everybody will have had a bit of fun.
So how would you like it to work then? Have you got any certain bands, any certain times? Is there any kind of rules, or how's it going to work?
Nope, and nope. So
okay.
At the end of the day, all I've done is come up with the idea, okay? So number one, there's no rules other than stick to your license conditions. I'm not going to start saying to people what you can and can't do, because that just makes it a bit too official.
Yeah.
Literally, all I've suggested, and that's the word I'm using, all I've suggested is Saturday from about lunchtime until Sunday, maybe early afternoon. Let's try and create some activity on 2 meters.
Okay, cool.
And that's really it. Interestingly as well, there's a couple of other events running parallel to this, which will give us kind of like, in your lingo, Oscar, double bubble. So basically, in fact, it's actually treble bubble. I don't know.
You're not stereotyping, are you, Mike?
I don't know whether that translates down into Essexan, but treble
Just
bubble.
remember, I'm not a Cockney, I'm a South Ender. There is a difference.
So this weekend is a special SOTA weekend where people are being encouraged to get off up hills and activate SOTA points. Okay, so that's number one. Number two is this weekend is lighthouses and light ships on the air. So that's number two. Now, what that does mean is I think it will create a bit more activity on the bands as well, especially 2 meters.
Are you encouraging people maybe to call CQ radioactive, just to kind of, you know, so people know that's what they're up to?
I'll go onto the calling channel, S20 or 145 500, however you want to call it, 2 meters FM, and I'll literally shout CQ2, 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 that kind of thing. But for this, I think I'll also add in there CQ radioactive, okay? Just to let people know. So this is how my CQ call will go, I think. CQ2, CQ2, CQ radioactive. This is Mike 0, X-ray Mike X-ray portable, calling CQ2, any stations, please QSY, move frequency to somewhere else, to X, whatever that X is, whatever that frequency is that I'm going to be moving to. And then I'll move to that frequency, and then I will start off by asking, is the frequency clear? Okay, that's very, very important. So once I've established that the frequency is clear, it will be M0XMX portable, calling CQ radioactive QRZ. Okay, and that's hopefully going to be the start of my 28-hour stint, because this is what happened on Saturday night. I called CQ, I QSY'd, and literally I never put the microphone down for 90 minutes, never went back to S20 and called CQ again. So it was just one after the other, bang, 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 bang. And it was electric, it was unbelievable. I didn't expect there'd be any activity on Saturday night.
When you're calling out, you're going to probably, from high ground, get quite a lot of stations coming back to you. Have you got any kind of, in your mind or thought process, like a priority, how you're going to pick them stations out? Are you going to put certain stations in a certain order first, or is it the strongest? What are you thinking, obviously, in that respect?
Yeah, okay. The way I would normally do it is I would normally take the stations that are potentially the stations that I'm going to lose the first. So therefore, if I've got half a dozen stations coming back to me and one of them says mobile or portable or QRP, then normally I would tick them off the list first, because there's a very good chance that if I work a strong station, then by the time I get to work in the weaker station, I may have lost them. They may have been driving or whatever. I mean, there's no exact formula to it that I've found anyway. Very often, if you have got the fortunate position like a pile-up, then very often you're just trying to pick out any discernible letter. So, you know, very often it's the station with Zulu in the call sign, or, you know, the M7 station. In this particular event, though, because what we're trying to do is encourage the new M7s, I think personally, the way I'm going to do it is once I've found a frequency to move to, and I've established if that frequency is available, then I'm going to say QRZ, starting with any M7 stations, please go ahead, okay? And then hopefully a few M7 stations, I can work through them. And I'm talking about not having a complete rag to with them, you know, about the weather and what colour dog they've got. But equally, definitely not 5'9" QRZ, because it's not a contest. So I would imagine spending 2 or 3 minutes with each contact, okay? Fairly efficient, but pleasant, okay? A nice kind of rapid pace, whilst reassuring everybody that's waiting to come in. And again, forgive me, I'm hoping there's going to be a pile-up. If there's not, obviously there's a different way of doing it. But if you are in the luxurious position of having a pile-up, it's always important to manage the people that are waiting, and just to reassure them that I'm going to get to you in a second, or yeah, the G3 station, I'll be back to you next, that kind of thing. So yeah, from my point of view, I think it's important to achieve the goal, which is to work in the M7 stations and to give them a chance.
Definitely.
And then obviously, you know, just work through the pile as efficiently as possible. And when things start to die down and you've got less and less people, then potentially you can afford them a little bit more time. And what I tend to do as well is I tend to spend maybe every 4th or 5th over, or every 4th or 5th QSO, I go into a bit more detail about my working conditions. So you're hoping that the person who's going to call next would have just heard what you've just said, so they won't be asking you, where are you, how much power are you running, because they'll have heard all that because they've been listening. So then you only say it once every 5 QSOs rather than every single QSO. But that's me.
Where are you going to be operating from, Mike?
Up in near Buxton. So it's going to be a radio weekend for me. I must be Radio Gaga.
Radio rental.
Radio, that's right. Yeah, there's the brumming in you coming out again.
There you go. There you go. Right, I'm gonna have to shoot anyway. I'll message you on days of today, Wednesday.
This event, and again, you know, it just kind of came out of nowhere, but this event has been so well shared across Facebook and other platforms that I'm really hoping it does work.
Yeah,
and if it does work, then there's nothing to stop us, because there's no cost involved.
It's like I said. I mean, as a moderator on the Facebook group, it was so nice to see so many like requests, and not from, you know, somebody in the Philippines, for example, or you know, or the Far East. You know, the amount of people that have requested access, you know, to join the group this week has been phenomenal. I've not seen figures like that since it started. So
I know. I think, and I haven't added it up, but we must be getting close to something like 100 new members this week.
Yeah, I think you might be right. Yeah.
So, and for the right reasons as well. And I'd like to hope a lot of those are new M7 stations, which is brilliant.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. Well, I'll speak to you on Friday. Nice to meet you, Oscar. And
yeah, you too.
Who knows, when conditions are right, we might be able to make a contact on 2 meters. I know I've spoke to people down in your neck of the woods on 2 meters before, when there's been a bit of a lift on into the southeast. So
yeah, cool.
Who's to say that that won't happen anyway? So, but nice to meet you. Good luck for the weekend.
Thanks very much.
Cheers, mate.
Catch you later, Stuart. See you later, mate.
See you, Mike. See you, mate. Bye.